Hi everyone, welcome back to the US CPA classes for regulation exam. In this particular video, I'll be walking you through in detail Form 1040. Yes, you heard it right, 1040 or filing of individual tax return. So let's dive into to understand the filing requirement and the Form 1040 in detail for individual tax return filing.
Right. So you can roam around and do the your own analysis, go through it. I would say this text flow is very informative tool when you start doing the practicing for the text filing, right? And there are like couple of other tools are also being available. Same way like in India, we have Computex and couple of other tools available for filing the income tax return. In US also, there are many tools available based on a subscription basis that if you are going for a tax practice, you need to purchase those tools. Now, coming to the form, which is 1040 for filing the income tax return of individual, right? So if you remember, like we have initially discussed, is it visible to everyone? Is it visible to everyone comfortably?
Yes.
Right. So I'll walk you through what all information as a tax practitioner we need to file. First thing is your year, right? Year can be a short year or can be a full year. Normally for individual, they follow the calendar year. However, it is possible it can be a short year or it can be a different year, right? Short year mean, for example, if you have started earning in July, so for you, the tax is being payable from July to December, right? So you can file from 1st July to 31st December. Second thing is you can have a different tax year. For that, you need to take a small quick approval from the IRS if you are using the different tax year, and then you can give the different tax year detail as well, right? Next thing is, if you see here, the first name, last name of yourself, and if you are filing a joint return, then about the spouse as well, right? Social security number, if you see, that is very important for yourself as well as for the spouse, right? Then after your address, city, town, state, pin code, and all those information, right? The most important information which is starting is from here, the tax filing status, right? If you remember, we discussed there are 5 type of tax filing status: single, married filing jointly, married filing separately, head of the household, and qualifying surviving spouse, right? So these all are the respective status, and you need to click to check the respective status. If you click married filing jointly, it go as a married filing jointly. It is single, then it is single, it is out head of the household. So accordingly, you need to select, right? What are the basis of selection of that? High level we have already discussed before the break. After like when we reach to the respective topic in our study, you'll be understanding in detail what all criterias need to be met for the respective category of filing status, right? So why I am walking you through 1040 at the beginning, so that when we are going through the respective section, respective provision of the Income Tax Act, I'll be taking you back to this 1040 so that you are being connected with what we are studying in theory, how you need to apply that in the practical experience, right? Then after, next is like about the deductions, right? So if you have any dependent, your spouse, and you are claiming any standard deduction or itemized deduction, so any itemized deduction for the which is based on the dependent, so you need to provide the detail how many dependent you have, right? And if you are taking care of any blind or elderly, so you need to provide the respective detail of that. In addition to that, you need to provide their respective name, last name, social security number, relationship as well, right? These all are information when you are claiming itemized deduction for dependents, for childs, for family member, or for the spousal, right? So then you need to provide this information, right? In India, you know like how many of you have studied income tax in India, or how many of you have idea how the income tax is being worked in India? Any idea, you guys? Yes, no? Have you heard like there are 5 heads of income by any chance?
Yes.
What are
Yes,
those?
sir.
What are those 5 heads?
Income from salary, income from house property, profit and gains from business and profession, income from capital gain, IFOS, that is income from other sources.
Yeah, very true. But in US, there is no such thing, right? So first you need to unlearn, and then you will be in a position to learn the new things, right? So here it will be flat income, right? So there are respective line items, but it is like single categories for all, right? So like you need to provide income from like wages and salary, which is coming in W2, right? Household income, tips income, medical income, employer benefits, any wages, right? Earned income, so any exempt income, those all things you need to provide in the respective. So this is the like the section where you need to provide the respective category of income. Yeah, Pooja, you have any question? Pooja, your hand is raised. Is there any question?
Oh, sorry. I thought I have
Uh,
lowered it. Rather, I
okay.
have raised it.
No problem, no problem. Okay. And then after in 12th number is the standard deduction or itemized deduction, right? For that, if you see, they have mentioned details are in Schedule A, right? 1040 is the form, right? And wherever additional information is being required, for that, there are specific schedules, right? So here for itemized deduction, they are saying Schedule A. So the Schedule A will be looking like this. So I'll be sharing all these forms and along with that, the respective schedules as well for your ready reference. So this is the schedule for itemized deduction, right? Like if you remember in the overview section, we discussed about the itemized deduction, what all comes under the itemized deduction. So medical and dental expenses, taxes paid, which is state tax or local taxes you have paid, interest paid on the mortgage of house, right? Gift for charity, casualty or loss, theft loss, other itemized deduction like charitable contribution or business travels, those things, right? So then it comes under the total itemized deduction. This total itemized deduction you need to mention here in 12, row number 12, itemized deduction, right? So this should be tied to Schedule A, right? Then after, once you provide all this detail, it will give you the taxable income here, right? So this is the taxable income on which the respective tax rates you will be applying and reaching out to the taxes, right? Here in this cells, you'll be mentioning how much is the tax payable. So your computation is of income you need to do on your software, or you can do manually, or you can do on macro based Excel as well. So that's completely on you. Generally, most of the tax professional, they use the software, right? And that automatically calculate based on the respective taxable income. They apply the slab rates, right? And that you need to mention over here. And then after there are tax credits, right? So here, if you see, there are all type of tax credits which is being applicable for the individual, right? And then there would be tax payment. So tax payment could be like form W2, which is like withholding tax, right? And there is called form 1099. So I don't know like how many of you have idea or experience. There is in India we call form 16A. Have you heard this form 16A by any chance?
Yes. Withholding tax certificate for other than salary.
Yes. So same way in US it is 1099. So for salary it is W2. For other than a salary it is 1099. Make sense? Clear everyone? So what is 1099? If you are having income other than a salary, then you will be receiving 1099 for rental income, professional income, capital gain, interest income, dividend income, right? For that, the respective income provider will withhold the tax according to the tax rate applicable, and they will
Is it, sir?
1099.
Is it not
1099 related to the person who claims to file their own return and don't want tax to be withheld or deducted at the level of the payer of.
No, that is like same way how we have Form 15 H in India, that no deduction or lower deduction of taxes. That is what you're saying?
Yes, because we issue 1099 to the people who claims in their W9
Hmm.
that they will be filing their taxes, so you not need to deduct any tax from
Yeah,
their
yeah.
payment.
So 1099 have almost 20 plus categories. So that is one of the category which you are saying, right?
Okay.
For that, they need to submit W9, which you are saying. So if you remember, if you see over here, I think forms and templates, there is W9. Okay. Yeah. So request for taxpayer identification W9 or W7, I think. Yeah, so this is Form W7. So, like in this applicability of IRS individual taxpayer identification, I think that is W9 or W7. I'll get back to you, right?
Mhm.
So any form you can download.
Mostly it's related to the individual who are either citizen or
Yeah,
holding green card,
yeah,
and they declare that they have other specific income, so they will be filing their return as per there, and you need not to withhold tax
yeah,
from the payment that you are, so that
yeah,
they don't
say,
have to go
yeah,
back and request for
yes.
refund.
Yes, yes, very true, very true. You're right. So 1099 has like 20 plus category. So 1099 is for dividend income, interest income, rental income,
Yes.
royalty income, or you can say professional income, consulting income. So there are same way how in India we have section 194. There are different category like C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, like depend on different category of work, right? Same way in US 1099 is for the different category. Almost 20 plus categories are there, and one of the
Mhm.
category is that which you are saying, right?
And
If you have
W2s
to,
are basic,
sorry,
and W2s are basically
for
people
employee.
who are employees only.
W2 is straightforward for wages and salaries only, but 1099 for all other category, and what you are saying is 1099 MISC, miscellaneous.
Miscellaneous, right?
Yeah, so 1099 there would be DIV, 1099 INT. So there are like almost 20 plus category of 1099. Right?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, clear everyone? Pooja, Sukhwinder, Prakash.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes.
Right. So when you start doing like tax practice, right? So these two things, like most oftenly coming in your way, right? And these will be like proof of withholding tax and as well as their income, right? Then other forms will be there, and tax credits and all those details will be there. Plus, I would say, once again, few more schedules I would like to share with you. One second, like W2, like for any household income, wages, salary, all these things you will be checking through W2 form. And then I would say, yeah, so capital gain. So calculation of capital gain, you need to attach schedule D, right? So there is like schedule D. It looks like this. So this is schedule D. If your client has any capital gain, long term or short term, for that you need to provide detail in schedule D. So short term capital gain and loss, like proceeds, cost, adjustment, gain or loss, like all these things you need to provide here. Long term netting of process and everything. So we'll be discussing this capital gain. Like earlier it was part of regulation, but now it has moved into the disciplinary examination called TCP, Tax Compliance and Procedure. So that is now no more part of your regulation examination, but you should be at least have an idea like which form I need to file for capital gain. So this is schedule D, which go as an attachment to 1040. In addition to that, if you have like business income, like if you are a sole proprietor or partnership, right, then you need to file this form schedule C along with form 1040. This schedule C, you will be providing the detail of business, the income from the businesses, expenses of businesses, same way like computation of business income, basically cost of goods sold detail and other information details, and the depreciation and everything which you are charging. So you'll be filing the schedule C if your client have business income, right? Then after, next one is you can say, I would say, supplemental profit and loss. So the supplemental profit and loss is for, you can say, royalty income, rental income, real estate income, right? If any of your client do have, then you need to file schedule E. So that will provide the detail of the respective property in which like your client is having rental income, royalty income, interest income, all those things you need to provide here in the respective form, right? Income from passive activity will also go here. Income from estate or income from trust, that will also comes over here, like any mortgage interest which like your client is charging, that also comes under schedule E. Then after, if there is any farming income your client do have, that for farming income it goes as schedule F. So here, like for farmer, there are certain special provision, which is like, their incomes are being exempt. So it comes under the exempt income category, but you need to provide the informations and you need to provide the detail. So if your farmer is using cash method of accounting, and then you need to provide this information in part 1. If farmer is using accrual method of accounting, then you need to provide detail in this format. And then total farm income and how much is being taxable for the respective farm income. So all this will go in schedule E. So this is also important. And then this is form W4, which I was discussing with you. So this is W4, which employee need to provide to the employer, right? In this, like employee will be providing their details, name, last name, social security number, whether they are single, married filing separately, married filing jointly, qualified, widower, head of the household, and the respective income they have from the other employers, earlier employer, all these things. And there is like instruction as well available over there, right? Then after, this is form W2. This your employer will be providing to the employee, right? So here the employer will be providing the detail not only for federal tax, but for state and city tax also, right? Like I said earlier, the taxable income is same, only the percentage of the state tax rate and percentage of city and municipal tax rate are different. So this is form W2, right? If you, here you will see like total wages and salaries for federal income tax purpose, social security tax purpose, medical tax purpose, right? Allocated if there is any dependent, the details of that. If there is any additional instruction that employer wants to provide, that you can mention over here. Here below you will see state and wages, taxable income. 17 you will see the state tax, right? 18 you will see local wages and taxable income. 19 you will see like local income tax, right? And the local authority name and details. So this is form W2. I'll be sharing all these things with you so you can have it for the ready reference. But normally as a tax practitioner, for us this most important is this red one, right? So here you will get all the details of taxable income for federal tax purpose as well as for the state tax purpose. Most of the time you'll be using this form, right? In addition to that, there are a couple of other forms, like I can quickly walk you through. Additional income for schedule 1. So if there is any adjustment to income, so those all things you need to mention here. Like we'll be discussing on the way, like alimony income, business income, rental real estate income. So these all things will go here and the respective attachment which we have discussed earlier. Then after, if there is any additional taxes, then schedule 2 will go. Additional taxes mean instead of normal taxes, if your client comes under the alternative minimum tax category, right? For AMT, you need to file schedule 2, right? And these are the information you need to provide in schedule 2 for the alternative minimum tax, right? As of now, don't feel overwhelmed, right? As we go through the respective topic, I'll be coming back to the respective form and guide you where exactly it comes in the respective form and how it is being connected. So all the theory which we are going to study in next 6.5 weeks is being connecting with all these forms. So don't worry, don't feel overwhelmed, but I'll be sharing the information upfront so that back of your mind, you know, like where it will be going. Right, in the during the week, you know, like you have comfortable time, I request each one of you to download all these forms and go through for your understanding purpose. You know, first you understand the forms, then it will be very easy for you to connect the dot as and when we are going through the respective tax laws. Then after, for tax credit, there is schedule 3. So here you'll be providing the details of all the tax credit. Tax credit are of 2 categories, refundable and non-refundable. That also will be discussing detail. So all the tax credit details in the respective format will go in schedule 3. And then this is 1040X is the amendment tax return. For any reason, you or any of your client has to amend the tax return, then you or your client need to file the form 1040X. And this is very similar to 1040, but this is just for the amendment purpose only, and where you need to provide the details like what amendment you are making in it, right? So these all are schedules, you know, like which is being very much relevant for you to be a tax practitioner or have an understanding about the detailed tax law. But coming back to 1040, 3 more important things which you need to understand. If there is any refund, so then you need to provide the bank details, right? Bank details and type of bank account. So in US, 2 things you need to keep in mind. So same way how in India we use IFSC code and bank account. In US it is called routing number, right? Each bank have a unique routing number that you need to provide, and the bank account number detail you need to provide. In US, there are 2 type of bank account. One is savings account. The second is checking account. So this is totally different concept than what we have in India, right? Same way, do you know like how the current account work in India? Any of you are using current account? Or any of you have idea? Yes, no?
An account that we get opened for business purposes and wherein,
Hmm.
I mean, there are no limitation on the number of transactions.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Somewhere close. Yeah. Any other thought? What is current
You do
account?
not receive any interest on it.
Yeah, that is the
There
key
is an
thing.
overdraft limit.
Yeah, that is the key thing. Same way how in India we have current accounts where we will not get any interest. Rather, we are paying bank charges for maintaining it, right? Or the minimum balance to maintain it. Same way in US, it is called check-in account, right? Most of the people in United States of America have 2 accounts. One is check-in account, in which they keep the money for their day in, day out transaction, which is normally their expenses, right? On the other side, if you want to earn the interest, then you need to transfer the money from checking account to saving account. Same way for earning of interest, what we do fixed deposits, right? So on fixed deposit, we earn interest. Same fashion, In the US, on saving account, there is interest, but on checking account, there is no interest, right? So here you need to specifically mention whether your client want refund in the saving account or checking account, and you need to provide the respective detail. Make sense? Yes, no?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
How much interest people
Yes.
generally receive on saving account there?
It's 3 to 4%, which I have experience in my 4 years when I was there.
Okay.
And on checking account, like there is a minimum balance you need to maintain. Generally, it's $1,000. But if that is less than that, you need to pay certain bank charges, which is normally $10 to $25 based on bank to bank, which I have experienced, right? Next thing is, like as a tax practitioner, like one good thing over here in United States of America, like most of the small CPA firm or small enroll agent firm, what they do, I don't know whether you have such kind of experience or not. I also did, like in during my internship time, like at that point of time, like the tax returns were manual. So the firm in which I was doing internship, they have a good relation with many BPOs and KPOs. What they used to do, they have like small stools in the BPOs and KPO, and we used to collect the form 16 those days. I'm talking about 2005 and 2006 when I started my internship. So we used to collect like during the day all the form 16, and in the evening, like after coming back from there, so we used to do the manual tax returns preparation and submission of those tax returns to the income tax department. In US also, many of the small firm and mid-sized firm or some small enroll agent firm, what they do, they especially in the tax season, they make a small stall in the market or sometime in the mall or sometime in the big corporate house where they invite all the taxpayers to come and submit a copy of form W2, and they will file the tax return for them at no charge, right? But at the same time they said, like, we are not charging anything from you, but this is our professional fees which I'll be mentioning in your tax returns, and that will come along with the refund to my account, right? That's how, like, normal tax practice is in the United States of America. You are not charging, most of the time we are not charging money from the individual taxpayer. Rather, we say this is our fees in the income tax return, and IRS process the fees to us, right? So in US, more than, I would say, 98% of the cases of employee, the withholding tax is more than required, and most of the time, almost all the time I have seen, they have refund due, right? From that refund you can charge your fees. So what IRS will do, for example, if your client has $1,000 of refund, which is like, like very minimal. I have experience in more than 100 returns over there. So you can say like $200 is my tax return filing fees, and $800 can be submitted to the client after processing my fees. So normally IRS has 2 week turnaround time for processing the refund from the date of filing. So if your client has, let's assume, $1,000 of tax refund, so $800 will go to the client account and $200 will come to your bank, right? So it is very easy. So, there's no burden on the client for filing the tax return, and for you, there is no pain of collection, right? That is very easy and simple process, which I file is a very good practice over there, and it gives a lot of ease to the people as well as to the taxpayer to avoid any collections issue, right? So here you need to provide the details of your as well. So when as a tax returns, there are two way of filing the tax return. One is the individual can file himself, right? So he or she can sign respective signature along with the PIN number, or if they are filing a joint return, then signature of the spouse is also required along with the PIN number. If they are using the tax preparer, that is CPA or enrolled agent, right? Then CPA need to provide the respective detail. CPA need to sign, provide PTIN number, right? and the firm EIN number, firm employer identification number. So along with that, the attachment will go where you'll be providing your bank details and the professional fees, right? So accordingly, IRS will process the refund, part refund to the respective individual and part as a professional fees to your bank, right? Any doubt, anything you guys need more clarification here?
Yes, so Mr. Kamal, actually, how it's work? Like, we need to be put our bank details over there to
Yeah,
get.
it will go as an attachment when you are filing as a paid preparer use only. So if you see paid preparer, it is specifically mentioned, you are using professional services, right? So here the detail of professional and the firm EIN number will go here.
So for this purpose, should we need to mention this in our ATA forms, like authority to act as an agent for any client? We should mention these as a their condition, term and condition, that we can get a fees refunded.
Yeah, this is very standard practice in US. Yes. So you'll be discussing with the client upfront, like, $200, $300, $500 is our professional fees, but it will process under the refund. So you'll be getting refund after deducting our fees from the IRS,
All right, noted. Thank you.
right? Any other doubt, guys? Right? I would say, like, go through
Hello.
this. Yes.
I'm having one doubt. If there is no refund from SSC, so how will it be
Then
paid?
then you need to take the fees from client. But more than 98% of the cases, like, you will experience, like, everyone have good amount of refund. There are multiple reasons to it, which I, like, from my personal experience, and I know, like, some of you might be working with the US clients also, you will also echo to what I'm saying. In US, in India, generally, like, you are working with one company, and you have, like, most of the time consistent earning from throughout the year, unless you are changing your employer, right? But in US, like, the culture is very gig economy, right? People, like, maybe Monday to Friday working in one organization, and Saturday Sunday they might be working in a club, right? There is possibility, like, in a day, like, there is, like, hourly system basically. So it is possible, like, 2 hour 3 hour they are working with one employer, 2 hour 3 hour they will be working with another employer, and evening they might be working with some other employer. So most of the time it has been experienced, there are, like, multiple employers to with whom, like, people are being working, and throughout the year also, like, when you do the job changes also, so that has been experienced. So employer generally, like, to safeguard themselves, they withhold more taxes. They withhold the taxes on the overall annual estimated income of the individual. So most of the time they withhold more taxes. And then at the end, like, I think someone from you was saying, like, 1099, like, many of the people do ask. So that is the reason people ask for 1099, that, like, I'll manage my taxes at my own. You are not required to withhold my tax, and that declaration they provide, that their incomes is being below the taxable limit, or some other false commitment they will be making. But as an employer, like, that is sufficient for you if some employees submitting those declaration in the required form of the IRS. But more than 98% you will see there is a refund due. But if not, then you need to ask the client. Yes. Right? Any other question? Okay, so I know we have to start with this. Chapter 4. Mm. Mm. We have just 10 minutes. So I'm thinking, what should I cover and what should I not cover? Okay, we can do a very small, very first topic, and then 1 second. Let me present my screen again. So now we are jumping onto chapter 4, which is federal taxation of property transaction, right? So yes, in the last class, if you remember, we discussed chapter 4, 5, and 6 as relating to US taxation. The first chapter is chapter 4, in which we'll be understanding about the federal taxation on property transaction. Yeah, so I'll share all these forms on WhatsApp group. Someone has text, so I'll be sharing, right? So in this, we'll be understanding, there is earlier the capital gain was also being part of this chapter before 2024 examination, before CPA evolution. But now capital gain has been moved to TCP, which is tax compliance and planning. So now this chapter has become much easier than it was before, to be very honest with you. That's a good news for each one of us. So it is not as difficult as it was earlier, which is including all the capital gain provisions relating netting of procedure and couple of other things, right? But here we'll be understanding. I know we have just few minutes left, so I can give you just high level overview what all things you can expect in this chapter. But detail, I think we'll start in next class. Otherwise, it will be injustice with any topic to get into it. So here we have two major things to understand: the basis of assets. In that, we'll be understanding the types of property. Sorry, there's a typo error. Types of property. So types of property which we have touched base in overview, like real property and personal property. So we'll be discussing the entire tax provisions, and as per tax law, what is real property, what is personal property, and one real property can convert it into personal property, where personal property can convert it into real property, and the respective tax treatment that we'll be discussing. Then after, we'll be discussing what is capital asset, and more importantly, what is not considered as a capital asset, which is considered as a repair and maintenance expenses, right? Capital nature of expenditure and repair nature of expenditure. So that we'll be discussing in second topic. Then we'll be understanding specifically about the startup and organization cost. So startup and organization cost are optional, right? For an company, if the company feels startup and organization costs are huge and it is impacting their income statement, so they can choose to be capitalize it. So there are certain provision, there are certain requirement that we'll be discussing in detail, but you can capitalize and amortize over the period that we can discuss. Then after, the division of real property, if there is a big piece of land and you are cutting down into the small plots and then selling those plots, will that be considered into the capital gain, or will it be a business income, right? That we need to understand, that we'll be discussing over here. And in next 4.1.5, which is asset basis or the holding period. So asset basis, what all things to be considered as the value of respective assets, which is your original purchase amount, all your you can say the transportation cost, freights cost, installation cost, right? All those things you need to be considerate of. And then if there is any depreciation, so that adjustment, if there is any improvement, the adjustment, if there is additional capex, those adjustment. So you'll be understanding that. In addition to that, we'll be understanding when you are receiving the asset from descendant, right? Someone has died and his assets has been given to you as a estate, right? So then what should be the basis of those assets? We will be understanding in detail, if you are receiving an asset in a barter transaction, what should be the value of those assets. And then holding period, because holding period is the deciding factor whether you need to consider the gain as a long-term capital gain or short-term capital gain. So that also will be understanding In addition to that, there is a small concept of stock, right, which is basis of stock after the stock dividend and stock split. That also will be covering. Then after, we'll jump onto the cost recovery. In US, cost recovery is called for depreciation, depletion, and amortization. Like we were discussing today, like MECAR and alternative depreciation method. One student says chapter 5 is over. No, we have not started any chapter yet. So now we are starting chapter. So we are starting with chapter 4, right? We are done with chapter 1, which is overview of the regulation exam. 2 and 3 we will do later, but 4, 5, and 6, which is coming US taxation, we'll be doing first, because that is very important, from where you can expect around 70% of your examination will be coming, right? So here we'll be understanding in detail about depreciation, all the MECAR method, all the conventional method, for real property, for personal property, mid-month convention, half-year convention, mid-quarter convention, alternative depreciation method, special depreciation, bonus depreciation, all those things we'll be understanding here. Then we'll be understanding the concept of depletion. So depletion is majorly used for natural resources, right? Natural resources like oil, gases, coal, mines, right? Those all things we'll be understanding. And the last one is amortization. Amortization is majorly for intangible assets, right? So we'll be understanding how we need to amortize the respective category of intangible. Well, first, we'll be understanding what is intangible. Second, we'll be understanding specific category of intangible when you can capitalize for tax purpose. There may be a rule which is different for book purpose. So when you are doing tax return, when you are filing the tax return, you need to follow the tax law. So there are certain provisions specifically for the software, right, development, research, right? So for that, there are certain provisions for tax law are different than the book provision. So that you need to understand, and how those will be amortizing, and what period you need to use. So that may be different for the book purpose compared to the tax purpose. So here, what all things we'll be studying is for the tax purposes. Then after, there is a specific provision of comes under section 1231, which is for gain or loss, generally considered as a recapture of depreciation that need to give a treatment as ordinary income. So we'll be discussing depreciation and recovery allowance recapture. So this section 1231, which is 4.2.4 and 4.2.5, we'll be studying together, because these two topics are interrelated and interconnected with each other, right? So I have already shared the notes with you, but I know today time is over, we are not able to capture it, but in next class we'll be starting with this, right? So this is, I think, this is all about today's class. So now you have complete broad overview what we are going to study in next 6 weeks for the entire US taxation. Then after 3 to 4 weeks, we'll be investing together for first, second, and third chapter, right? So this will be the planner for the remaining 10 week, which we'll be studying together, right? Any doubts so far?
Sir, can you please repeat the plan for the next 10 weeks?
Yeah, so 6 week we'll be studying US taxation, which is chapter 4, 5, and 6.
Okay,
right?
sir.
And then 2 week we'll be investing in the first, second, and third chapter.
Thank you, sir.
Right?
Sir, can you also share that first lecture, this chapter wise breakup that you had showed last week? The slide.
Yeah, I think in last class I have shared or not. If not, I'll share again.
Yeah,
So
that was not shared.
no, okay, I might have missed. So I'll be sending you the chapter wise detail, and
Yeah.
I'll sending you all the forms and template which we have discussed
Okay.
today. Right?
Okay,
Feel
sir.
free to
Thank you.
download that. So this is it for today's class. Thanks for patiently listening to me, and thanks, and hope you're feeling like you're learning something new in the world. Right?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
definitely.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. It is good.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. See you in the next class.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.